Hey everyone, Ashley Mailloux here with the Daily Racing Forum. We're going to take a look at a stakes race this Saturday at Santa Anita Park. It's race number 4 in their program. It's the Grade 3 Megahertz at a mile on the turf course for fillies and mares, 4-year-olds and upwards. A nice field of 8 in here. We'll talk a little bit about all the runners. We'll take a look at the slate though, looking at the field top to bottom and looking at this group here of 8. Favoritism going slightly to the number 6 School Dance as well as the 4 Closing Remarks. And then from there, kind of a spread out morning line. I think there are a lot of live horses in this spot. There's different cases to make for each of them. So let's dive right into it. We'll start with the number 1, Bay Storm, out of the Jonathan Thomas barn. I have a ton of interest in this mare for a couple reasons. Last time out, we're actually going to take a look at that replay. It was her first try at the mile distance. She's going to get her second shot at it. This was at Gulfstream Park on New Year's Eve, and she had the lead in the Grade 3 Sewanee River. And she just surrendered in here. Now, the turf course at Gulfstream Park has been pretty speed favoring. The top 2 finishers were actually close from pretty far off of it. I just thought it was a good effort. Even in defeat, she still tried to kick down, kind of kick in down the lane. And as I mentioned, just her first try at the mile. So going down her past performances, it was her 11th start. Her other longest race would have been 7th Ace, and she tried to do the same thing and tired. I just think second off the layoff and second attempt at the distance. Now, she does have a fair bit of early foot as well. I do think the horse to her outside, who will move on to the number 2 Hamwood Flyer, is going to probably be the speed in here, but I think Bay Storm is going to press the pace. Looking at Hamwood Flyer, it's been pretty nice throughout the career. She's just got those 8 races under her belt. She's 5 years old. As I mentioned, speed. She was a runaway winner 2 starts back. And then more recently, she did tire and finish 4th in the Grade 1 Matriarch behind likes of Regal Glory, Piz Bianca. Obviously, the waters were deep, but her speed's her best asset. She does have that experience at a mile. She's 4-1 on the morning line. To her outside, the number 3, Nadette, the French-bred filly, made her first start in North America back in October locally at Santa Anita at this distance. And she tried to circle the field. Rhea Moon would end up winning and came back to win pretty impressively next time out. I thought it was a really great effort for her start here out of the Neil Drysdale barn. Verito Rispoli was back aboard. The hotter the pace, the better for her. I mean, maybe we'll see something different, but she tends to come from off the pace, and she's going to stay at that mile. So we'll see if she's able to kind of maybe get that pace that she'll need to maybe get the job done. Now, the 4 Closing Remarks, another one I want to take a replay look at, looking at that recent effort, also on New Year's Eve, but on the West Coast, right at Santa Anita Park, where she'll be racing again. She's the 7 in this field. 11 is Quattrell, who she'll have to face again. But you can see the number 10, Queen Goddess, much the best in here, was able to control that pace early on. The Closing Remarks is still trying to dig down here in the lane. Just no one's going to catch Queen Goddess, who more recently, just a week ago, did win the Pegasus filly and mare turf in kind of that gate to wire fashion as well, was forwardly placed, at least I should say. And I just think the big thing with Closing Remarks, you go down the page, she's faced very nice fillies and mares. She's not going to run into the Queen Goddess type. Now, the question is, she typically comes from off of it. I kind of expect maybe a mid-pack trip from her early on with that closing kick, but she'll need to show more depending how the speed scenario plays out. The 5-1 Silk Stocking, bit of a price in here at 12-1 on the morning line, was able to, kind of crush the competition last time out and drew off quite nicely, going 6.5 on the downhill. Prior to that, had some nice efforts at Del Mar and Santa Anita going longer, and I don't mind this one. You see that effort 2 starts back. The question is, these are deeper waters. Can she kind of step up and hang around with these seasoned mares? I'm not sure, but nice to see Frankie Dettori sticking with her, who was aboard last time out for that victory. The 6 School Dance out of the Phil D'Amato barn was second last time out in that Grade 1 American Oaks. And I'll be honest, I did not find the Grade 1 American Oaks to be a true Grade 1 in my opinion. It was a big field, and I think it was wide open. I just don't know if the fillies and mares in there were truly Grade 1 level horses. Rhea Moon, who I mentioned earlier, was the winner of that race, and School Dance did very well for facing graded stakes competition for the first time. Was forwardly placed. My reservations with School Dance, you look at those last couple efforts, they've been at 1 1/8 and 1 1/4. She does have wins at a mile. I just wonder if she's actually a little bit better going longer, just from what we've seen in her more recently. So the cutback will be an intriguing move for her, but the outfit does well with this angle. The 7, Quattrell, this is the one that we saw in that replay back from that Robert Frankel, rounding out that 2022 season. One that I figure is going to come from, also mid-pack and try to close in. She obviously had a much stronger campaign in 2022 and 2021. She had a limited campaign, 3 starts. Gave her a lot of time off, over a year off, and she came back. It took her a couple starts to get that win, but she's kind of been consistent striking the board in graded stakes competition in her last few. I just wonder with someone here, maybe she's a step below, but not significantly below this level. I just think she's going to need to show more than she's shown so far. And then rounding out the field, the number 8, Oakhurst. This one was 4th last head out in the American Oaks, as we mentioned, the grade 1 race. 45-1, took no respect in that race. Has done a bit of barn hopping in her last 3 starts. This is just her 2nd start with the new outfit. I think that gives her some upside. Looking at her races at a mile, she is 0 for 2 at the mile distance, but I did think that race back at Belmont in June was a pretty strong 2nd behind Eminent Victor. Another one, I'm not sure she's quite at this level, but it'll be interesting to see what the tote board says closer to post time on that day, because Flavian Pratt is booked to ride 25% with the outfit. Flavian typically does get bet well at Santa Anita. So for me, kind of looking at the field overall and where I landed, I was torn between 2 runners, the 1 Baystorm and the 4 Closing Remarks. And I think I ultimately went to the 4 Closing Remarks thinking that the 2 runners towards the inside could maybe get into a bit of a tussle early on, which would certainly give Closing Remarks that pace to run at. But I used Baystorm in 2nd in terms of my selections. I think this horse should improve stretching out. Not stretching out, but staying at that mile distance for 2 starts in a row. And one other thing, Jonathan Thomas, shipping this one to California, I thought was very intriguing, had me kind of curious about why not staying in Florida with this one and going to the West Coast. And then from there, I used the 6 and the 3 to round things out. So for me, most interesting Closing Remarks as well as Baystorm. Best of luck this weekend in the Megahertz.